Yo, what up, world? 502 King Paul coming to you out with another video, man. So, my first look into the gang life, the first time like really seeing just hands-on, up close, in my face gang activity was when I went to a middle school here in Louisville, Kentucky. At the time, it was called Southern Middle School, but it was, I think now it is called Olmsted. Now, this school was already very strange when I went to it because it was separated completely. All boys in one class, all girls in another class. The only time you would see any girls at all at this school was when you went to breakfast. If you chose to go to breakfast, we had separate lunches. Breakfast or the school bus basically would be the only time that you would come across females at this school. Well, this school, man, this was like the worst school that I went to behavior-wise out of any school that I've went to. I went to 3 different middle schools in my youth, mostly due to behavior issues, and Southern was my last stop, now known as Olmsted. It was my last stop, man. And when I got to this school, it was so much gang activity. I didn't realize because it's in the south side of Louisville, and majority of my time growing up, I had been on either in the west end of Louisville, a little bit of the east end of Louisville. You know, I was familiar with the gangs and different stuff inside these areas, but the south end was like new territory to me. I really didn't realize how much gang activity it was in that area until I moved there. But there were a lot of Bloods in this area. And the school was mostly all Bloods. I would see kids inside of there, you know, I'm talking 12, 13 years old with red rags. Everybody got red flags. And it was just a lot of violence, a lot of gang fights, and it was mostly like the Bloods, quote unquote, or mostly the black kids at school would get into fights with the Hispanics at school. And it was always these huge fights. Like every day was a fight. Anybody who went to Southern Middle School during that time can tell you that that's what's going on. Around 03, 04, it was just a lot of gang activity at that school. I say this to say, man, I saw this article today where Quando Rondo, this rapper, I'm not sure of how many of y'all listen to rap music or whatever, but this rapper Quando Rondo, he's affiliated with the Rolling 60s Crip gang, right? And after all this different turmoil going on in his personal life, several attempts on his life, he has denounced this gang. So, you know, it really started bringing back some of this old gang life to me, man. And I myself was affiliated with the gang a little bit later on. I'm going to get into that in just a moment. But I just want to take a moment to shed light on this topic because I know a lot of dudes, man, especially like back in that time, you know, when you got Lil Wayne banging the red flags, when you got The Game, you got all these different rappers who are pushing out this gang lifestyle, man. A lot of the kids, even Dipset, Juelz Santana, Jim Jones, all them guys, man, Cameron, when they was pushing this red flag so hard. And there's Crip members as well, but I'm just saying that the rappers really influenced the culture a lot, especially in America. They influenced the culture a lot. You know, and yes, they're picking up on street culture, but what they're doing when they put this stuff into their videos, when they put this stuff into their songs, they're influencing the youth that much more. Because I've seen so many kids that, you know, they were never gang affiliated before, but once these rappers started coming out and really pushing this movement, a lot more of them became indulged into the gang life. They seeped down into the gang life, man. So I'm going to tell you a quick story here before I get into a couple of real stories and the reason why I chose to really leave that lifestyle alone, man. So when I was in high school, like I said, middle school is my first time being exposed to it. But when I went to high school, I affiliated with some different dudes from not even the neighborhood I was living in. This was a neighborhood that most of my family was from. You know, when I was younger, I stayed there for a short amount of time back when I was younger as well. But I always kind of ran around this neighborhood. And the neighborhood that I was in, a lot of them dudes were Blood members. You know, there was this older dude that we looked up to, and I'll never forget him. It's this guy named Project. Back in the day, man, we looked up to him because he was like an older guy. You know, we was about maybe 15 or somewhere around there. I know I was. And this guy was like not much older, but he was maybe about 20. and he had did some time, and he had been off in these group homes and all this different stuff, man. And he was like, you know, he was like the gangster to us, man. And we really looked up to him because I guess he was just an older guy. And, you know, you look up to older people and you think that they have more wisdom. You think that, you know, they're tougher, or, you know, you just want to be like these guys who are older. So we gravitated towards him, and he was a big gang member. Always had his red flag and whatnot, man. And the guys who I was running around with at the time, they also picked up that flag as well. And we made our own gang, man. And, you know, we wasn't really like banging on Crips like that or nothing like that. Louisville's kind of weird how the gangs are set up here, man, because you can have a neighborhood that has Bloods and Crips in it. There's really only 2 sections of the city where there's actual real gangs with ties to California. Like, that really, you know, they were really put on. Like, their hoods was really put on from the source. And that's, and I'm not going to shout them out per se, because if you're from the city, you know what it is. But there's one in the West End. There's an area in the West End where it's nothing but Crips. It's nothing but Crips. Then you got the whole downtown East End area, and they're all Blood affiliated. So those are the only 2 areas in Louisville really where it's going to be straight up, you know, all blue or all red. As far as other gangs and things like that, you have like little cliques and whatnot, but it's really, you know, that's what it is. That's the main demographic of those areas. But most areas inside Louisville, man, you can have Blood and Crip members on the same block. Neighborhoods just, they don't really gang bang on blue and red. It's really more so block type beefs. Same way how you heard about in Chicago, how a gang from one block might be beefing with another gang, you know, a block or 2 down the street. You know, it's that close in Louisville, man. So that being said, you know, we had this little gang, and, you know, we had our name and all this stuff, and I was always, you know, just rocking red. I had all this red stuff, and, you know, I was always, you know, we would write our name all over stuff. You know, we would carry ourselves like we were a gang, you know, involved with the drugs, involved with violence and all that, man. But at the same time, though, we weren't really doing like what I would consider real gang banging. It was just like, this is our color, this is our thing. Because I had plenty of dudes that were Crips, and I was cool with them as well. But, you know, you just kind of, you know, it's like, all right, this dude rock red. I rock blue, he rock red, whatever. It's not any real kind of beef like that. But I'm going to tell you, man, these dudes I was hanging out with was not good people. You know, we started off like brothers. We rode for each other. We traveled together. I know that they had my back. I had their back, you know, inside of certain situations. And that's just pretty much how we conducted ourselves now. I wasn't raised in a family that taught me to gangbang whatsoever. I had my father there in my life, my whole entire life till this day. He's been in my life, man, and he never was with that gangbanging stuff. And it got to one point, man, I remember that, and excuse me, I was getting a little dark out here, starting to rain and whatnot, so that's why I'm sitting in the car, because it actually just started pouring down. But I remember one day, man, my pops had went on my MySpace page back then, and I'm dating myself a little bit, but back then it was MySpace. Facebook was around, but it wasn't the popular site. MySpace was the site back then. You know, you could make your little profile and put your song and your background and all that stuff. It was cool, man. But he went on there one day and he saw a picture of me, right? And I'm holding up the B. I got on my red with my red rag. I had a red bandana hat. Like, I was going super hard with it, man. And I remember he just rushed in my room one day and he's like, man, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing out here? He's like, you see you with these flags and all this stuff, man, and your hat and whatnot. And man, he made me throw away every single piece of red clothing that I had, which that was majority of my wardrobe was all red clothes. I had red shirts, red hats, red bandanas. He found the bandanas all underneath my bed. I kept them underneath my bed to keep them flat. That was like a little, you know, whatever. That's what we did to keep our bandanas from getting wrinkled. You take them off and you lay them flat up underneath the mattress, and then we keep it pressed up, man. So he made me throw away everything. And that's one thing I want to say, man. A lot of times with these gangs is a lot of these dudes don't have fathers. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I look back on the guys I was running with, and they didn't have fathers. They didn't have a father in their household. It was a single mother household. And I'm not knocking the single mothers whatsoever. You know, I know it's hard, man. I know it's hard. But, you know, you need that male influence. And a lot of times that's what dudes is looking for. You know, they might not have that big brother. They might not have that father figure. So they look to these other dudes in their neighborhood and they look up to them. And they really want them to just show them love, show them guidance, show them how to get through this world. And it's like you go into it looking for positivity, but all that comes out of that lifestyle is negativity. Now, the same dudes that was in my gang was the same ones that would cross me later on. And what I would find out is it was a lot of jealousy behind it, man. Like, I would have, one thing about gangs is everybody has a role in the gang. Don't think you're just going to be in a gang for no reason. You might have the dude that got the access to the drugs. You might have the guy that got the access to the guns. You might got the guy who's, you know, just ready to take it all the way there when it comes to violence. You might got the ladies' man. You might got the flag guy that's going to bring the attention. You might got the person that drives the car. All gangs have it's like you fit into a piece of this puzzle. But the puzzle is extremely negative. All of it's negative, man. Not one positive thing came out of me living a gang life. And that's one thing that I want to put across in this video 110%, man. Not one positive thing came out of me trying to hop into this gang life. Now, why did I hop into it? Because, like I said, a lot of my friends, they didn't have a father. They didn't have someone to look up to that would keep them out of trouble, stir them away from the streets. I jumped into it just simply being a follower of the music because it was a fad. It was something for me to get into at that time. But see, a lot of dudes, man, they get into these gangs and the same thing that they got into to help save their life actually ends their life. There's this guy, man, that I was friends with, and he died, man. He died some years back. But he claimed he was from up east, and he claimed blood and all that too. Just because if you're from the East End, like I said, that was your gang. That was just, you just grow up like that. It's like how the dudes from Cali say, well, my whole family is Bloods. That's how it is up east. Like, it's a lot of people, it's just generational. Well, this dude, man, he was real cool, real cool guy, but caught up in the street life. So one day, man, he comes over and he's bringing some weed over, right? He's bringing some weed over, and I walk outside, and as soon as he pulls up, jump out boys hop out behind him. I mean, these are not the regular police. These are, I forget what they call them, man. They call them something here. I forgot, but because it's been a while. But it's a team here. I want to say it's the Viper Squad, but it's a team here to where all they looking for is for guns and dope. They're not even looking for weed. So they was following him. Apparently, he was caught up in some things, and I have no idea. I'm not going to speak on his business. But they pull up on him, right? And first thing they do, they grab me up. Big old dude hops out. And, you know, I'm not racist, nothing like that, man. I'm just describing this. I want y'all to be able to see what, you know, paint the picture for y'all. Big old white dude comes charging at me. Look like he been playing football, body lift, you know, just hitting the gym real hard. Comes and grabs me up, throws me on top of the car, grabs my hands. He's like, man, you got any weed on you? What you got? Now, he didn't even ask me if I have weed on me. He said, you got anything on you? They handcuff everybody, pull my partner out the car, sit him on the curb. He has this other dude with him that looked like, honestly, like he was an addict. Best way I can put it. He looked like an addict, looked like a straight drug user, way out of place. This was an older white man that was in the car with him. Just didn't make any sense. But I think he was with him trying to get something else besides weed. I'll just leave it at that. Sits us all on the curb, and police finds an ounce of weed that he had just picked up to come and bring me some of this weed, right? So I had a little bit of weed on me that he had just given me. Like, I mean, as soon as I put my hand in the car, they came and jumped on me. So I didn't have time to do anything. I still got the weed in my hand. I give it to the police. Police gets the weed out of his car. He sits us on the side of the curb, and he said, man, I'm being honest with y'all. I'm not looking for no weed. He's like, you want to go to jail or you want to go home? This police officer looking at me, and my house is right behind me. It's right behind me while I'm sitting on the curb. I said, you want to go to jail or you want to go home? I said, man, I want to go home. I look back at my house. I'm like, I want to go home. It's right there. It's like, all right, look. Grabs an ounce of weed, takes me around the corner, because on the side of the, in between the house, it was like this little small, I wouldn't really call it an alley, but it's like just a little gap in between the houses. And he's like, man, he said, he throws the weed down on the ground. And remind you, I got on my house shoes. Throws the weed down on the ground. He said, you want to go home? Empties out the bag. I want you to step on all this weed. Now, I'm hurt right now because this ain't my weed. This is my guy's weed. And it's an ounce of weed. So it's at least a few $100s worth of weed. And he tells me to stomp all on it. And I got on my house shoes, so I'm trying. He said, no, you better really stomp on it or I'm taking you to jail. So I stomped out all dude's weed. I'm fired up. I'm like, man, now I'm going to have to pay him back for this weed. Go back around the corner. Police says, all right, man, give y'all a little warning. Y'all can go on about y'all way. So I tell the dude that came over, I tell him, man, police made me stomp out your whole sack, man. He made me stomp out everything. He said, man, don't even worry about that. I ain't tripping, man. I ain't tripping. It's like, what? Word? Like, you ain't tripping? I would be mad if somebody just stomped out an ounce of weed, an ounce of any drug. And he told me, he's like, man, don't worry about it. I'm going to pull back up on you a little bit later. And I'll smoke with you, throw you some more weed, man, because I know he took the weed you had. So I'm going to throw you some more just on GP. I'm like, what, for real? Like, that's crazy. So I go back in the house, and not even 5 minutes later, man, not even 5 minutes later, I get a call that the same homie just pulled up on me being killed in his own neighborhood. And apparently I found out years later that he was set up. They saying he was set up. I have no knowledge of what actually happened to him. But they said that he was set up by one of his guys. So, you know, that gang life, man, is treacherous. You know, when I like I said at the beginning of this video, why I personally got out the gang life, man, because the dudes were so jealous. They were so jealous of what it was that I had. I was the flag guy. I had all the women. You know, I had the jewelry. I had the, you know, I had the status. Like the popular guy. I was bringing the popularity to them. Now, they were more like the street, grimy type dudes. Like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't a punk, but at the same time, that wasn't my role. I wasn't out here trying to shoot up people and, you know, beat up people and all this stuff. I would fight if I needed to. I would defend myself if I needed to. If I got to pull a gun, then I would to defend my life. But I'm not going out here and just committing crimes and doing all this stuff. So, man, I ended up falling out with, I got into it with one of the dudes in the same gang that I said I joined, right? Same gang that I helped make. Ends up getting into it with him, falls out. Now, the other guy, he was living in the same neighborhood, but he ended up moving across town. So one day out the blue, he hits me up and he's like, hey, man, what's going on with you? Blah, blah, blah. I haven't heard from this guy in like a whole year. He's been moved out the neighborhood. He's not in the hood no more. He's way out near the suburbs. And, you know, he starts talking to me, trying to hang out and whatnot, man. And I didn't really want to hang out with him like that, to be honest, because I kind of was up on guard about it. But I had an incident happen where I had a gun that was stolen, right? So in my mind back then, the way I was moving, I said, I need to get me another gun. So I go and meet this guy, sets me up, basically. I go and meet him. He said, yeah, man, I know somebody that got a gun. Meet me over here. He pulls up in the car with his cousin. And his cousin's like known street dude, real known street dude, known to shoot, known to do anything, man. So it caught me really off guard when I seen him in the car with him. But his cousin pulls up in the car, lets him out the car. Then he pulls off. So it was real weird from the jump. I should have knew something was up. But he said, yeah, man, dude that got the gun lives inside this house. Give me the money. I'll go inside of her and get it because, he's weird and he got stuff going on in there, blah, blah, blah. So he goes inside the house, man. I'm outside for about maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I'm like, man, he's taking a long time. So I keep on waiting. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm about to go knock on the door. I don't care what's going on in there. I'm about to go knock on the door. So I knocks on the door. They open up the door. I look around. Don't see dude anywhere in there. I say, hey, such and such here? Nah, he ain't here. So long story short, what happened was dude took my money. It's supposed to be my brother, my gang brother, whatever. Took my money, man. Went inside the house and came out the back door, and his cousin must have picked him up, and then he took off. So, we had some beef for a little while after that, for real, man. Like, it was, it was looking ugly because there was a lot of threats being made on my end because, mostly because, man, my heart was broke, man. And that's why I learned that you can't put your heart into these streets. You can't put your heart into these dudes, man. You can't put your trust into these dudes out here, man. They don't have your best at mind. They thinking about them. They thinking about how they're going to get through. So when I seen this story about Quando Rondo saying that he's denouncing the gang and he's going to focus on his family, I'm like, man, congratulations. Thank God, because it's really only two ways you can go. Like my pops always told me, when you're in the streets, man, and you're doing stuff you ain't got no business doing, it's either jail or hell. It's either jail or hell. Either you're going to go to jail, you're going to get locked up in the penitentiary, wasting your life away, or you're going to go to hell. You're going to get killed. Somebody's going to put you in the ground, man. When you live in this gang life, street life, it ain't no way to be. And, I could tell you so many more stories about, things that happened during that time and just how I was living my life. But, I just want to put out the gist, man. Just stay away from them gangs, man. If you're a younger dude, because I know there's some dudes that watch my channel and they like 15, 16 and whatnot. And I want to try to reach out because at that age, I was gang banging. At that age, I had already been carrying a pistol for a few years. At that age, I was already selling weed. I was already doing a whole lot of stuff I had no business doing. And I want to try to save. And one thing about me, man, and when I'm telling my testimony, when I'm speaking on these things, I'm not talking down on nobody. I'm not talking down on anyone. Because in order to help people up, you got to realize that you're no better than anybody else. So the things that I did before in my past, I regret doing these things. But I also don't want to be speaking from, a standpoint of like, oh, well, you shouldn't do this and I didn't do it. No, I did it. I made the mistakes. I got snaked out, backdoored, whatever it is that you want to call it, by my own homies. They started turning on me, man. Mad because I had a better life going on for myself than they did, man. I played football. I was smart in the books. Man, these guys I was running with, they did not have those things going for them. And not everything is their fault. I look back on it now as a grown man, like they just didn't have no real guidance in their life. They were the man of their house, and they was trying to make the best way that they could. But I'm telling you, man, there's so many other ways that you can make a way for your family. I know so many guys who, they were the man. They had to be the man of their house. They didn't have a pops there. They didn't have a pops. But, today, them same guys are great fathers. Today, those same guys who didn't have a father are great leaders within the community. Those guys have gone on to be entrepreneurs and have great careers. And some of them even went on to the NFL and went on to just do amazing things with their life, man. So don't think that a gang got to be the way for you to get forward in life, because this stuff may seem cool. It may seem cool to be like on Crip, on Blood, all this other stuff. But I'm telling you, man, it gets played out. And there's nothing worse to me than when I see a grown man running around talking about, yeah, I'm a Crip and all this. Dude, you are 30-something years old. You are 40 years old. Even worse, these guys that wait until they are adults to get into gang life. Why would you wait all the way until you're in your 20s, 30s? Now you want to be a gangster. Now you want to run out to the streets. If you weren't doing that as a child, man, you shouldn't be picking up childish stuff as an adult. So I just want to put out this message. Hey, I really hope this is a blessing to somebody. I really, really do. And there's just some insight to others. If you have someone that's dealing around in the street life, you have someone, one of your little, nephews, even nieces, it's girls that gangbang nowadays. If you got little cousins and, if you got a son or daughter who's trying to engage in that street life, man, get them away from it. I just told you I lost a friend to gun violence. And this is by somebody in his own hood. And like I said, all of them are the same gang up east. So this is all, supposed to be family, but it's really somebody who does you wrong because they jealous, because you get money, because you have success in your future. When they should be bigging you up, they plotting on how to pull you down. A real homie, a real friend is going to figure out how they can help lift you up and congratulate you and not pull you down. 502 King Power, man. I love y'all. Y'all stay blessed. Till next time, I'm out.